So the first question in the study guide, which expression or expressions are equivalent to the given expression here? So to make some room, I'm going to write these down here. So -5, open parentheses, 4d minus 4, close parentheses, plus 2d. Well, we're going to start by distributing -5. So -5 times +4 is -20d. -5 times -4 is +20 plus 2d. I put little commas in to separate my terms, so if you're one of Mrs. DeValue's students, you might not have seen that, but that's how I do it. -20d and +2d together make -18d. I'm left with +20. So the expression we are looking to match is -18d plus 20. So clearly, this first one, first answer choice, matches it. But we're looking to find out if it's only this one, or both. Well, let's find out if it's the second one. -1/2 times +36 is -18d. And -1/2 times +40, negative times a positive is a negative, and 1/2 of 40 is 20. Well, this is -18d minus 20. We wanted to match it to plus 20, so only answer choice A is correct. Let's move on to question number 2. It says simplify this expression. Well, I see double negative here that I want to rewrite. So this is -18k minus 4 minus 6 minus -20k is positive or plus 20k. Right? Once again, my commas to separate the terms, -18k and -4 and -6 and positive 20k. Well, -18k and positive 20k makes positive 2k. -4 and -6 together make -10. So the correct answer is 2k minus 10. Let's go on to number 3. So here we have an equation we need to solve. So the first step I would do is get rid of 3 or subtract 3 from both sides. So my new equation becomes p over -4. 3 and -3 become a zero pair, so they cancel out. -2 and -3 together add up to -5. So I have p over -4 equals -5. I like to put little boxes around my original equation, subtract 3 from both sides. Here's my new equation. Right? Well, I don't want p over -4. I want just 1p. So what am I going to do? Well, this is really kind of like an invisible 1 p over -4. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of that, which is -4 over 1, which gives me -4p over -4, which is +1, or 1 times p, which is what I'm looking for. And if I multiply one side by -4, I need to multiply the other side by -4. So I have -5 times -4 is +20. And once again, use my little yellow highlighter there. So original equation, subtract 3 from both sides. New equation, multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 1 over -4, which is -4 over 1, or just -4, and gets you that. Next problem. I want to eventually isolate c, get c by itself. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 1/4 from both sides. When I subtract 1/4 from both sides, I get -7/4 minus 1/4 is -8 over 4, which is also -2. So I have -2 equals c over -4, right? So my original equation is this. I subtract 1/4 from both sides, I get this. -2 equals c over -4. Well, I'm going to multiply this by the reciprocal of 1 over -4, which is -4 over 1. If I multiply one side by -4 over 1, I need to multiply the other side by -4. So -4 times -2 is equal to 8. And of course, c over -4 times -4 over 1 is just 1c. So there's my answer there. So original equation, subtract 1/4 from both sides, you get this equation, and multiply both sides by -4, you get this equation. All right, number 5 is 12 minus m equals 16. So if I subtract 12 from both sides, I get negative m equals 16 minus 12 is positive 4. Well, I don't want negative m, I want positive m. So I can either multiply or divide both sides of this equation. I'm going to choose to divide by -1. So if I divide one side by -1, I divide the other side by -1. 4 divided by -1 gets me -4. And of course, on this side, negative m divided by -1 is positive m. So m equals -4. You can check that because 12 minus -4 becomes 12 plus 4, which is 16. So original equation, subtract 12 from both sides, new equation, divide both sides by -1. Your final answer is right there. All right, moving on to number 5. This one is a fraction, an equation with fractions that we need to solve. So let's do this. If I need scrap work, I'm going to kind of make a little area on the side for me to be able to do that. So 1/4 h is just going to come down. It's 1/4 h. Negative 1/3 times h is negative 1/3 h. Negative 1/3 times -6, that's a negative times a negative, is a positive. And let's say I don't know how to do that. So 1/3 times 6/1. I don't have to worry about the sign because I already decided a negative times a negative is a positive. So I have the plus sign there. And this becomes 1/3 times 6/1. Well, I want to simplify before I multiply, so I simplify 3. Goes into itself once, 3 goes into 6 twice. So when I multiply across, I get 2/1, which is just equal to 2. So this becomes plus 2 equals 20/2. Well, that's an interesting one. 20 divided by 2 is 10, so I can just leave that as an integer. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So what did I do here? Here's my original equation. I distributed to get rid of the parentheses, which gave me this equation, which is 1/4 h minus 1/3 h plus 2 equals 10. Now I'm going to combine like terms. So I know that 1/4 h and negative 1/3 h and positive 2, well, I know I can combine 1/4 and negative 1/3. I'm going to do that over here on the side. 1/4 minus 1/3. Common denominator is 12. So 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12, so 1 times 4 is 4. So this becomes 3/12 minus 4/12 is negative 1/12. So this becomes negative 1/12 h, that's combining these two terms, plus 2 equals 10. Right, so my next step after combining like terms is to get this equation. Right. Well, at this point, I want to move or isolate h to get it by itself, so my next step would be subtract 2 from both sides. By subtracting 2 from both sides, I get negative 1/12 h plus 2 and minus 2 become a zero pair, so I'm left with that, just negative 1/12 h. On this side, 10 minus 2 is 8. So I have negative 1/12 h equals 8. Well, I want to get just h by itself, so I'm going to multiply this side by the reciprocal of negative 1/12, which is negative 12/1. Right? Negative 12/1 times negative 1/12 is positive 1, or 1h in this case. If I multiply one side by negative 12, I need to multiply the other side by negative 12. Positive 8 times negative 12 is a negative. 8 times 12 is 96. So the answer to number 6 is negative 96. Okay, moving on to number 7. Number 7 is this equation, so let's solve it. Right? We need to get n by, let's try a different color, n by itself at the end. So we have 3n and negative 50 plus 3n equals negative 81. So I'm going to add 50 to both sides. When I add 50 to both sides of the equation, I get 3n equals negative 31. Divide both sides by 3. 3n divided by 3 is 1n. Negative 31 divided by 3 is an improper fraction, negative 31 over 3. Right? So as I keep showing all the time, here's the original equation. I add 50 to both sides, I get this equation right here. I divide both sides by 3, I get my final answer, n equals negative 31. All right, moving on to number 8. This one is a solve and graph. So we're going to solve this and then we're going to graph it. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So I get negative 2n is greater than or equal to 14 plus 6 is 20. Well, I don't want negative 2n, I want 1n. So I'm going to take this side and divide it by negative 2. Well, if I take one side and divide it by negative 2, I've got to take the other side and divide by negative 2. So 20 divided by negative 2 is negative 10. And here's the important part. Because I divided both sides by a negative, I need to reverse the direction of the inequality. So the inequality goes from greater than or equal to less than or equal to. So that means here's my original inequality. I added 6 to both sides to get this inequality. I divide both sides by negative 2 to get me n is less than or equal to. I change direction because I divided by a negative, and this becomes negative 10. Now, to graph this, I'm going to put negative 10 here, negative 9 here, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6. Here would be negative 11, negative 12, negative 13, negative 14, and so on, negative 15. So circle at negative 10. Because negative 10 is included in the solution, we would shade it in, and n is less than or equal to that number, so we would shade the arrow going to the right. Right? These are all the values that are less than or equal to negative 10 that will make this original inequality true. Plug in any number in the shaded area, makes the inequality true. Sorry, I forgot to put a little yellow around that. All right, moving on to the next one. I think it's another inequality. Yep, x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 10. So I subtract 4 from both sides, and I get x is greater than or equal to 6. So I'm not going to put every number on here. I'm going to put 4. Actually, I should have put 5, but fine. Let's say I made a mistake. 4, 5, 6, 7. I would put a circle at 6. I would put a shaded circle because 6 is included in the solution because it's greater than or equal to. And the values that are bigger than 6 are to the right of 6. So I would shade to the right. Moving on, number 10. Negative 4n plus 8 is less than negative 16. Okay. I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. That gives me negative 4n. That's a 0 pair. Is less than negative 24. Negative 16 and negative 8 is negative 24. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4. And I get n. And I get negative 24 divided by negative 4 is positive 6. And because I divided both sides by a negative, the direction of the inequality changes, so it becomes greater than. So this is negative 4n plus 8 is less than negative 16. Subtract 8 from both sides. I get this inequality. I divide both sides by negative 4, and I get this inequality. To graph it, here's 5, here's 6, here's 7. I would put an open circle at 6, and because 6 is not included in the solution, we don't shade it in, but n is greater than 6, so the numbers that are bigger on a number line that goes left to right are always to the right, so we would shade this to the right to show all the values that are greater than 6. Those are all the values that would make this inequality true. Let's move on to number 11. Number 11, negative 4 is less than negative 6 plus n over 5. This one's going to be a little interesting. I'm going to talk about it when I get to the last step. Add 6 to both sides, and I get negative 4 plus 6 is positive 2, is less than, that's a zero pair, n over 5. Now, I don't want n over 5. I want just one n. So I'm going to take this side and multiply by 5 over 1, which is reciprocal of, imagine an invisible 1 next to this n, so 1 over 5. That becomes 5n over 5, which is just 1n. Well, if I multiply one side by 5, I need to multiply the other side by 5, and I get 10. So I get 10 is less than n. Now, my advice to anybody that gets an equation like this is always rewrite it with the variable on the left. And the reason for that is if I rewrite the variable on the left, right, the open mouth, the bigger value is n, right? 10 is less than n, which means n is greater than, see, open mouth faces n. 10 is greater than n, which means it's bigger than n. That means when I graph this, 9, 10, 11, when I graph it, I get an open circle at 10, and n is bigger than 10, so I would shade it to the right. Now, just want to kind of talk a little bit about what I did here. Here's the original equation. I added 6 to both sides. I got this equation. I multiplied both sides by 5, and I got this. I keep saying equation, but I mean inequality. Now that I have this inequality, 10 is less than n. If you think about it, if 10 is less than, smaller than n, that means n has to be bigger than 10. This is why I always recommend when you're done with an inequality, if the variable is on the right, just rewrite it with the variable on the left and make sure that the, open mouth or the alligator or Pac-Man, whatever you choose, is still facing the number or the value that it was facing before. So in this case, 10 is less than n, means n is greater than 10, which means n is all the values to the right of 10, not including 10, which is why we don't shade in the circle for 10. Okay, next number we are doing is number 12. Which of the following is not a solution to negative 4r plus 10 is less than 22? All right, so my whole thing about this particular problem is, I know it says if you get stuck, solve and graph. I'm just going to solve and graph because, let me explain after I solve and graph, because hopefully it'll become a little clearer. Negative 4r plus 10 is less than 22. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. I get negative 4r is less than 12. I'm going to divide both sides by negative, that was a mistake. I'm going to divide both sides by, let's rewrite this, negative 4r is less than 12. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4, and you get r. On this side, you get negative 3. 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. But because I divided both sides by a negative, the direction of the inequality gets reversed. So r is greater than negative 3. So here's the original inequality. I subtract 10 from both sides. Here's the new inequality. I divide both sides by negative 4, and I get this. R is greater than negative 3. So I'll show you why I did that. All right. Here's negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, right? So R is greater than negative 3. So open circle at negative 3. It's not included, and R is greater than that. So we shade to the right. Right? So it's asking us which values is not a solution, right? So let's talk about these values. Negative 1.5, right? Negative 1.5, I'll put that in blue, would be somewhere around there. That's where negative 1.5 is. Is that a solution? Well, it's in the shaded area, so it is a solution. We want one that is not a solution, right? Negative 5 over 4. Negative 5 over 4 is negative 1 1/4, which would be somewhere around here. It would be between negative 1 and negative 2, so negative 5 over 4 is also here in the shaded region. Next one is negative 2.01. Well, negative 2.01 is right here to the left, slightly, tiny bit to the left, so negative 2.01. That's also a solution because it's in the shaded region. And negative 3.5, well, negative 3.5 is halfway between negative 3 and negative 4. That would be here. Well, these three are solutions because they're in the shaded area, but this one is not a solution. So D is the answer that is not a solution to this inequality, which means it is the answer we are looking for. All right. Let's move on to number 13. Find the mistake in the given equation. Right? So looks like they're distributing here. So 8 times x is 8x. That looks good. 8 times positive 3.4. Well, let's see. I need scrap paper to do that. 8 times 3.4. 4 times 8, or 8 times 4 is 32. Carry the 3. 8 times 3 is 11. Sorry, is 24 plus 3 is 27. Move 1 decimal to the right. Or sorry, move 1 decimal over because the counting decimals. There's 1 here, none here. So that's 27.2. So this is plus 27.2 equals 75.2. Well, now I need to go from this line to this line. So it looks like step 1 is good, no mistake there. Subtract 27.2 from both sides. When I subtract 27.2 from both sides, well, the left side just becomes 8x. That looks good. And 75.2 minus 27.2, so 75.2 minus 27.2. 2 minus 2 is 0. 5 minus 7, can't do that, so I'm going to regroup. So this becomes a 6. This becomes 15. 15 minus 7 is 8. 6 minus 2 is 4. So that's 48.0, or it's just 48. So yeah, this works, right? This is a 0 pair. This becomes 75.2 minus 27.2 is 48. So 8x equals 48. So far, step 2 looks good. Now I want to go from here to here. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8. 8x divided by 8 is 1x. 48 divided by 8 is 6. Yep, it looks like step 3 is good. So the answer to this was there was no mistake. It was done correctly. Number 14. Mrs. C buys a car that costs X dollars in New York. All right, so she buys a car that costs X dollars in New York, where the sales tax rate is 8%. 8% sales tax. Which expression represents the total amount she has to pay, including tax? Well, including tax, let's talk about this. First of all, she's got to pay, oops, let's use a different color. She's got to pay X, right? She has to pay for the car. Plus, she has to pay 8% of X, or 8% of the decimal is 0.08 times X, which means this is the amount she would have to pay, X plus 8% of X. So B is the correct answer. By the way, another answer that would have worked, this is 1x, this is 0.08x. Together, you would add them up, they'd get 1.8x. That's another way of thinking about it. Or if you pay 8% tax, you have to pay 100%. Oops, 100% plus 8% tax is 108%, which is equal to 1.08x. So this was the only answer that worked, but I just wanted to show you that this answer down here would also work. Moving on to number 15, Calvin uses a 20% coupon for surfboards at Spellbinders. So 20% coupon for any surfboard at Spellbinders. Which expression represents the amount of the discount? So just the discount for one that normally costs S dollars. Well, the discount is just the 20% that he's going to get off. So 0.2 or 20% of S, which is the surfboard, would be 0.2 or 0.20 times S. So the amount of the discount is just 20% of S, which is choice B. This is 80% of S. That's not what the discount would be. It would be, that's what he would pay. He would pay 100% minus 20% would pay 80%. So this is not right. This would be the same as that, so that's not right. And 16/20ths is 8/10, which is also the same as 0.8 S. So these three that are wrong all mean the same thing. They're the amount you'd pay after the discount, but we're looking for just the discount. So just the discount is the 20%. This expression, we just need to simplify. So we need to distribute to get rid of the parentheses. So -4 times -2 and -4 times +4. Then we do -3 times +3 and -3 times -5. So let's get our different terms together. -4 times -2 is +8W. -4 times +4 is -16. -3 times +3 is -9W. And -3 times -5 is +15. So now that I have my different terms, I can put commas in there. It's 8W minus 16 minus 9W plus 15. So 8W and -9W together, they make -1W, or I would just write it as -W. -16 would combine with +15. Well, I have more negatives than positives, so it's negative. Well, what's the difference between, what's -16 plus 15? Well, the answer is -1. So the correct answer is -W minus 1. That's the answer I would go with. Number 17 is another one where I've asked just to simplify. So if I need scrap paper, I'm going to use, I have more room than that. If I need scrap paper, I'm going to use the room over here. So let's see. I have to distribute these two terms, and then I'm going to end up bringing down -4/10 x plus 6. All right, let's do this. -3/5 times +5. Well, that's a negative times a positive is a negative, so let's do the math here. If can't do it in our head, that's fine. 3/5 times 5/1. 5 and 5 cancel each other out. I'm left with 3/1. So this is just -3. Now, -3/5 times -1/2. A negative times a negative is a positive. 3/5 times 1/2. If I multiply across, I can't simplify anything, so this would become 3/10. So this is +3/10. And don't forget your x. So my terms are -3 and +3/10 x and -4/10 x and +6. So I like to put my variable expression first. 3/10 x and -4/10 x. Well, 3 minus 4 is -1. So these come out to -1/10 x. -3 and +6. They can combine together. -3 plus 6 is +3. So the answer is -1/10 x plus 3. There you go. There's our answer to 17. Number 18 is solve the inequality, graph the solution. So I'm actually, to give me some room, I'm going to copy the problem down here. -5x plus 4 is less than or equal to -16. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. That gives me -5x is less than or equal to -20. Well, to get x by itself, I need to divide both sides by -5. Right? -5x divided by -5 is 1x. -20 divided by -5 is +4. And because I divided both sides by a negative, the inequality would change direction, so it would become x is greater than or equal to 4. Once again, the original problem is here. I subtract 4 from both sides. I get this new inequality, -5x is less than or equal to -20. I divide both sides by -5, and that gets the variable isolated. X is greater than or equal to +4. Because I divided both sides by negative, this inequality changes direction. So x is greater than or equal to 4. Here would be 4 on the number line. It is included because it's or equal to, so it's shaded. And x is greater than that number greater than or equal to, so we would shade to the right. I'm the world's worst artist, but whatever, you can deal. And finally, the last question on the study guide is the following. Negative 18 equals 3, open parentheses, 3x minus 4, close parentheses, plus 2x. So this is negative 18 equals 3 times 3x is 9x. Just to show you what I'm doing to distribute. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And then plus 2x just comes straight down. On the right side here, I can combine like terms. So this is negative 18 equals, well, 9x and 2x together make 11x minus 12, right? For those who don't see, let me change it to a different color. Put commas in there. 9x and positive 2x become 11x, leaving me with negative 12, which I just bring down. So negative 18 equals 11x minus 12. At this point, I want to continue to get the x isolated, so I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Negative 18 plus 12 is negative 6 equals 11x. Well, I don't want 11x. I want just 1x. So I'm going to take this side and divide it by 11. I'm going to take the other side, also divided by 11. This is a negative divided by a positive is a negative. 6 divided by 11 is a fraction. Negative 6 over 11 equals x. Once again, you see me do this a lot. After I distribute, I get this new equation. Let's fix that. After I distribute, I get this new equation. Still messy. Sorry about that. I then combine my like terms. I get this equation, a little simpler than the one before. I add 12 to both sides. I get this equation. I then divide both sides by 11, and I get my final answer, negative 6/11 equals x. I know some teachers, maybe Mr. Value asked for this, I'm not sure. They ask you to put the variable on the left side, so x equals negative 6 over 11. Same answer, just written with the variable on the left. Hope that helped. Good luck on the test.